What's up everyone, my name is Josh Washburn of Washburn Fabco, and today we're going to dive deep into the business world of welding. This video should help small business owners that do welding, the self-employed welders and rig welders, as well as the weekend hobby welders and side hustlers. If this is the first video of mine that you've seen, I own a fabrication shop in Galt, California, and I've been doing it for myself, self-employed, for the past 5 years. So through those 5 years, I've had a lot of dilemmas with pricing, not knowing if I'm charging enough, not know if I'm charging too much, and always trying to find the middle ground of where was the right pricing. So hopefully you get something out of this video. It'll definitely help the new guys out, but maybe if you've been doing this a while and you aren't sure on a certain area of your pricing, maybe I'll mention something that you haven't taken into consideration before, or maybe one of you guys can help me take something into consideration that I didn't put into this video. I'm going to start by saying this is the most in-depth video that I have so far. I actually wrote a whole outline that's 5 pages long, and that's not even covering everything I'm going to talk about. So please like, comment, subscribe, and share this if you have other friends that are doing side hustles or whatever they're doing. If you didn't see, we just gave away an Art Captain TIG and stick welding machine, and we're going to do another giveaway at 2,500 subs. I'm not sure what it's going to be. It's going to be from Art Captain though. If you have any recommendations of what you want to see given away, drop a comment below and we'll see if we can make it happen. All right, let's get into what you guys have been waiting for. This is how I do my pricing. Others might say I'm wrong, might say, you know, there's this and that way to do it or whatever. They just throw a number out there and think it's right. We're not going to do that here. We're going to do a little bit more math than that. Running a business and working for yourself, you can't be lazy and just say, oh, that's $100 or that's $200. It don't work like that. You can, after a long time of doing it, it might work, sure. But when you're starting out, you actually need to know what you are putting into it and what you're receiving back. I know a lot of the jobs I did when I started, I basically did them for free. I either didn't quote high enough and went over on hours, or my hourly was so low that there was no profit to be made. The first step in understanding what you should be charging is you have to determine a baseline price, your cost of doing business. You should start by finding a rough estimate of your hourly consumable costs, which can be tips, wires, grinding discs, all that sort of stuff. That number is going to vary a lot. You're going to have jobs that are heavy fab, so there's not a whole lot of welding. You're just fabbing up some panels or putting something together. Or you're going to have a job that's super heavy on the welding side, like something such as hard facing. So you're going to want to find an average, a medium fabrication rate with a medium welding rate, and use that as part of your baseline pricing. I like to include all my consumables costs into my hourly rate. The customers don't like seeing that you charge a certain number and then at the end they have this huge fee tacked on that's your consumables because you burned 3 boxes of rod and oh, the truck needed to be filled up, so let's put that all in one. The best bet is to put it all together in your hourly so that there's no question about it. Sometimes with the super heavy jobs where there's a ton of welding, you might have to add a roll of wire in there extra or a box of rod. That's fine, just don't do all of your consumables as a separate charge. What I do keep separate is all the steel costs and all the parts costs. When you're charging for steel, you're going to want to mark up the steel. Going to drive 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you have to drive to go get the steel, it ain't free. You have to drive there both ways, you have to burn gas to get there, and it's time out of your day. Even if you get it delivered, I get my stuff delivered, I still have to be here at a certain time for them to show up, and if that's a day, I wanted to go off and do something else, part of working for yourself, you get to go do what you want. I get pulled back over to the shop to wait for a steel delivery, even if I didn't plan on working that day. And sometimes they say they're here at 7 and next thing they show up at 3 in the afternoon. So it's going to take up your whole day, even if it's a delivery. Which is no diss on the suppliers or anything, it's just that's how it works. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out. Some of the other costs involved that you need to determine into your hourly rate is your shop expenses, such as rent or loan for your shop, as well as your truck payment, etc. If you have a truck payment, I wouldn't recommend buying a brand new truck if you're just starting out. Use something old to get it by, but that's something you need to take into account into your pricing. Another thing you got to think about is all of your equipment's going to require maintenance, whether it's your welder generator or it's your pickup truck that you're doing all your mobile service with. You're going to need oil changes on both those. You're going to need mechanic work done on both of those. So you got to kind of figure out what's the average cost to keep these machines running. That should be put into your hourly as well. You also have to look at your shop's power consumption per month, as well as your tool and equipment lifespan and wear. A welder's only good for so many hours, and a truck's only good for so many miles. By the time your equipment wears out, you want to have enough money saved up for that. You want to have enough for when your welder fails to either get it fixed or get it replaced. And same goes for your truck. Another big thing is that if you're working for yourself and you don't work for somebody else that's taking taxes out of your paycheck, 9 times out of 10 you're going to owe money on taxes. So you need to come up with a percentage of what your estimated tax is going to be for the year and add that into your hourly. If you're doing this as more than a side hustle, and well, even if you are doing this as a side hustle, I would recommend getting general liability insurance before touching anybody's stuff. I did it before I did any major jobs. I did small stuff here and there. But if you don't have liability insurance, I don't recommend doing anything pretty much at all, unless it's just small parts or something that doesn't really matter, where if they fail, there's no reason for anybody to want to sue you, or no way somebody can get hurt using whatever product you made. And also insurance on your truck and your equipment if you have it. One thing you have to take into account if you don't work for another business is your personal health insurance. Another big one is disability insurance. I haven't had disability insurance, but I'm gonna get it pretty soon. I heard a horror story from one of the guys in my small business welders and fabricators Facebook group that I run. I guess he had a pipe roll off the table. He blew out his knee and tore his leg all up, couldn't work, had to sell his old business and everything. He didn't have disability insurance, and me and him talked about it for a little bit, and he really stressed the importance of it to me. So that's one thing I'm gonna get pretty soon. And I recommend you guys get it as well if you're doing this full time and you don't have another job. So you have to take all those factors I mentioned and narrow them down to an hourly rate. Basically, you're going to take your monthly cost and divide it by the amount of hours you're going to work in a month to find out kind of where you need to be at. It's not going to be perfect because some months you're going to work, 60 hours a week. Other months you might work 10 hours a week. It's going to vary a lot. Once you get that down to a rough estimate of where you need to be at, then you can add in your labor pay. Your labor pay is going to vary from person to person a lot. When starting out, you're not going to have a lot of tools and equipment because you just haven't acquired them yet. So your hourly rate is going to need to be lower. A good way to think about it is think about this. If you start out with just a handheld 4.5-inch grinder and you have to cut out a whole bunch of parts to fab up something, that's going to be a lot harder than at the next stage where you've been doing work for a while and okay, I'm going to buy a handheld plasma cutter. And then once you have that plasma cutter, you can do the job a lot faster. And then after that, maybe you decide to get a CNC plasma table and now you're cutting out a crazy amount of parts in like 10% of the time. So at that rate, now you can charge more per hour because you're more productive in that hour. Often customers will hear your hourly rate and think that they're shopping by the hourly rate. Like so-and-so is going to do this for $50 an hour. Why should I come to you? That's $100 an hour. The reason is that the guy that's doing $50 an hour, he probably just started out, he doesn't have a lot of equipment, so it's going to take him maybe twice as long. So then in the end result, you're still going to have probably the same price as the guy that's $100 an hour. And that's only if the quality of work is the same throughout both the $50 an hour welder and the $100 an hour welder. You're going to need some sort of buffer in your hourly rate so that if you make 40 hours a week, you're good, but also if you make 20, you're not struggling. I can't tell you an exact buffer because it's going to be different for everyone based on your monthly expenses, such as your average cost of living month to month, which are basic things like your rent and your food and your fuel and all that kind of stuff. You want to make sure to add enough out of that personal paid portion that you receive yourself so that you can be comfortable. There's no reason to start a business just to be struggling, for years and years and years. It's taken me a while to catch up to where I can start making a little bit of money here and there, but I kind of bought more than I needed to before I should have. Pretty much every payment I got went straight into buying new equipment, and next thing you know, I'm getting a loan for a plasma table and so on. It's just how it works. It's going to take some time to actually see a profit if you're trying to grow your business. If you're just doing it as a side hustle and you plan to keep it that way and not grow, you probably won't grow that much, but you're not going to be able to take these bigger jobs where, You need to cut 1,000 pieces out with your plasma table. So in the long run, you're missing out on a lot of money, but it all depends on what your end goal is of what you're trying to do with the business itself. Whatever hourly pay for yourself that you come up with, you're going to want to be comfortable enough that you have money for the slow seasons. If you have slow seasons doing agricultural work or heavy equipment or whatever it is, so they're not working, so you're not working, you need to have money put away for all that. And to be able to have money to put away, you have to have money in general coming in. If you don't have money coming in, what are you going to put away? So if you did all that math and followed along, you should have a general idea of what you're going to be charging per hour, or at least a good starting position to work from there, do a couple jobs, see if the math's lining up, and figure out if you need to go up or down with your hourly rate. There's a couple situations in which I will increase my hourly rate depending on the type of the job. One of those would be if it's a really heavy welding job where it's welding all day, your hood's down all day long, then I'll increase my hourly rate depending on how much I think I will burn in rod, like if I'm hard facing and such. I also increase my rate for specialty welding like TIG welding, stainless steel pipe, TIG welding in general, aluminum TIG welding, and spool gun welding. Especially if you're back purging pipe or something like that, you're going to have a higher consumables cost because you're running two gases at the same time, a purge gas and so on. So depending on the job for specialty welding, I usually increase the rate by 10 to 20%. For you guys that are running shop and mobile rigs like I am, you're going to want to increase your shop rate by about 20 to 25%. And this portion is going to help cover the cost of your truck insurance, your fuel, your wear and tear on that truck, and your big welder generator that costs a lot of money. And the inconvenience of not being at your own shop where you have all your tools at your disposal. When you go mobile, somebody's basically asking you to bring an entire shop to where they're at to do the work. You got to think about it like that. I prefer everything to be brought to me if it can. If it's something that's, a fence or gate, obviously I can't do their fence from my shop. Another situation where I'm going to go ahead and increase the pricing is when the customer calls or texts me and says, hey, I got this that's broken and it needs to be fixed right now. So for me, I have jobs typically lined up a month or two in advance at times, and other times it's dead. If I have jobs a month or two out right now, like I do, I'm going to charge them a 25% fee on top of my hourly for getting their project in before working on the other projects. And if we're doing a priority service same day, that typically means that project that I dropped to start that other project isn't just going to get put away for some time till I finish that job. That means I'm going to have to be working overtime, which we don't get paid overtime. So that's basically like our overtime pay. We're going to have a long night at the shop to get that project out of the way to get the other project back on track and ready to meet its deadline. There's going to be some exceptions to doing a priority service same day. If I'm dead and I have no work, of course I'm not going to charge. Why would I charge? I need the money. But if we got other guys waiting, it's not fair to put somebody else first. It's only right to charge more to get that priority job done because of the fact that they are not waiting like everybody else did. Another exception to that would be if it's something that somebody brings me to the shop and it's a returning customer and they've been coming to me for years, or I've done big jobs for them in the past. Yes, I will do something quick for you without charging you extra for priority rate. But when I'm talking upcharging for priority rate, I'm not talking about under 3-hour job. I'm talking about anything that's going to be a half day to a full day or a week or whatever. Let's talk about overall pricing jobs. I never give an overall set in stone rate of saying, oh, yep, that's $1,200. I'm doing it for $1,200. No, I don't do that. What happens when you do that, even if you kind of have experience in that realm, you're going to underestimate the work. It happens to everybody. So if you do a set in stone rate, double whatever you think it's going to cost. If they want a set in stone rate, a lot of the times the guys that want a set rate and aren't okay with paying an hourly are not really customers that I want. You might want them, but I don't want them. They usually turn into problem customers. A lot of the times I see they want something for a set rate and then they'll start adding stuff on and expecting it to be the same price as what you gave them in the beginning. It's just not how it works, so I keep it plain and simple. We keep it hourly plus materials. But if you want to do set rates per jobs, you do you. Another thing you need to be charging for is going out and quoting mobile. I've had plenty of jobs I went and looked at, then you do all the math and the design and all kinds of stuff, and they don't end up wanting you to do the work, which is okay. But the 2 hours, 3 hours that you put into driving over there, talking to the customer, getting a materials quote, doing your design time, that should be all accounted for in pay. Then if they accept the job, I take the rate that I charge them for that quote out of their end bill. And if they don't accept the job, then that's the time it costs for me to go do the quote. A big thing you guys should be doing is getting material deposits up front before starting the job or even thinking about it too much. I don't know how many times I've ordered materials and then the day comes to do the job and they tell me not to come and they're thinking about it now, or it's in limbo. And then the job never ever happens. So I just have, thousands of dollars worth of steel sitting here. That was my fault in the beginning for being too trustworthy of people. Never buy something for a job that you don't have set in stone, ready to go, and you have the money for that is funded by them. Another big thing that you need to be charging is appointment deposits. If a customer says they're going to bring something to you on a certain day at a certain time, you want to have an appointment deposit so that if you get flaked on, there's something there to hold them to showing up. I got really tired of people flaking. It's probably the way I was advertising. If you advertise through Facebook or Craigslist, you're going to get flakes all day long. I've sat out here for hours when somebody tells me they're going to come drop something off for me to weld at 8 o'clock. And next thing you know, it's 8 o'clock at night and they still haven't texted me and I'm just out here walking around, cleaning stuff up, doing a whole lot of nothing. So appointment deposits are a big deal in holding them accountable to showing up when they say they're going to show up. If they show up, I do the same thing as I do my quoting charges. I'll take the $50 out of their end bill for doing what they told me when they said they were going to do it. I'm sorry for all you new guys if I sound super negative about all this stuff. It's just how it works. Being in business and working for yourself isn't for the faint of heart. You got to realize that not all the time a relationship between a customer is meant to be. And you really got to pick and choose your jobs wisely. There's been so many times that I've lost my ass on jobs, and it took me a long time to learn when to say no. Not every job that comes to you, you should take. I've had other business people tell me the opposite, that you need to just take whatever you can get to get as much exposure as you can. I did that. That was not the move for me. That was a bad, poor choice. You often get into jobs that you're not ready for, you're not equipped for, you don't have enough manpower for, or it's going to be something that's just got way too much liability and it's not worth touching. If you guys want more info on the business side of welding, drop me a comment. If you have any questions, drop those as well. Maybe I'll pick a few of those comments and make a new video out of it and give you guys a video response. I hope this video helped you. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.